Hey world, it is Justin, and this is Anywhere the Needle Drops. We have a great one for you today. We have the return of the Crane Wives. Well, we have, I guess, technically a return of two of the Crane Wives. I am joined today by Emilee, Petersmark, and Dan Rickabus of the Crane Wives. The last time we had the band in on the show here, oh man, that was way back in, that was an interview I did in December of 2015. After their show at the Livery in Benton Harbor, we all crammed into the green room there at the Livery and chatted and just had a good old fun time. And, you know, just looking out as we do with these things, we'll go ahead and re-release that old episode, that old interview as a remaster here in the next couple of weeks. But today is new stuff. That old episode aired in 2016, and here we are so many years later, 8.5, almost 9 years later, chatting with the Crane Wives about, man, just all the stuff that's gone on since the last time we talked to them. I mean, we've lived some life. The world has lived some life. The music world has been through some things since 2015, and of course, you know, as people, we all grow and, you know, turn into adults and have all these things happen. And so it was really fun catching up with them. They're great folks, and just chatting about where their journey has taken them to this point. And of course, that is shown through their latest album just released that is titled Beyond, Beyond, Beyond. That's right, that's 3 Beyonds. So that's the new album. You can check that out in all the places. Of course, you should hop over to the Crane Wives website in the show notes and pick that up in a physical copy, if nothing else. And also get some of that great merch from Emilee. She does some amazing artwork, and I was poking around their merch website the other day, and it's dangerous. There's some really great stuff there, so check that out. Give musicians your money. We're going to go right now to a track from the new album. That song is called Time Will Change You. The interview is after. Enjoy. I had you guys, the last time you guys were on the show was 2016. I don't know if you guys even remember, but you played the livery in Benton Harbor, and
Hmm.
we did the interview in that tiny little green room off to the side of the stage. After
Yeah.
the show, we all kind of just crammed back there and huddled down on the floor and hung out and did a little interview there. So yeah. 2016. So that's not quite a decade, but it's been a while. So
Dang.
yeah, yeah,
Close to it. That's nuts.
yeah. That's
That was for
crazy.
the release of Coyote's Box Lore, wasn't it?
That I think it may have even been just before the release. It was. I think it was right around that time because I don't think it was quite out yet. But yeah,
Wow.
yeah. That's going back.
It
That's
really is.
crazy. I'm
Yeah.
actually going to play with a different band at the Livery this weekend for the first time in like maybe since then. So that's pretty
Oh
cool.
wow. Okay. All right. What band's playing out there?
It's called Moss Manor. It's two of my friends and I, and then we expand into I think a 5-piece that night.
Okay, awesome. I definitely saw that on the calendar, but I was unfamiliar with the band. So now I have a little bit of a touch point. So that's pretty cool.
Sweet.
Yes. It's Dan and Seth Bernard and Michael Doss, formerly of the Accidentals, and
Okay.
Tree Skin. Yeah. It's a
Okay.
solid crew.
That's a solid crew of Michigan music right there. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's funny you mentioned the Accidentals too, because what prompted me to reach back out to you guys, in addition to the new album, of course. But I went to the State Theater a few months back, and they had a Michigan showcase show, and the lineup
Yeah.
was Lindsay Lou and Patty for Shayla and the Accidentals, and oh man, it was a great old time. It was a great old time. We needed you guys there, of course, too, but it was a great old time. So
Nice.
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. That was a great lineup. That was an amazing lineup.
Yeah, that was a very solid show. But then I remember thinking back how I first even came across you guys. Speaking of Lindsay Lou, was I had her scheduled for this show, and you guys opened for her at or it was a double headliner. I'm not sure which, but it was in Three Rivers, Michigan,
Oh
at
yeah.
some little theater.
Yeah.
I've never been, like, my only time ever going to Three Rivers, but I remember going there strictly to watch the show, and then after the show interview Lindsay, and then I saw you guys and I was like, oh my god, these guys are amazing, I've got to get them on the show. So, and then we chatted a little bit backstage. It's funny because I just had Lindsay on the show a couple months back too, and so as a kind of a bonus to that, we re-released that original episode from years back, and you guys are on it because you walk into the room while we're interviewing, and
Whoa.
yeah. So it's so many fun things. We've been doing a lot of fun digging into the archives on the show because we've been at this now for like 12 years or something insane like that. So
Dang.
Amazing.
yeah, so the Crane Wives. So yeah, we've got Emilee and Dan here from the Crane Wives back on the show after almost a decade. So
Yeah.
now are you guys are on tour still, right? Are you on a break?
It's a little
We're
break
about
here.
to.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say we're about to be back on tour. We're about to start our album release tour, which begins the 14th in Oklahoma City.
Okay.
And yeah, and then we're going to be gone until the 4th. Is that correct?
Yeah, day before election day. And I was just joking with someone that if you look at our social media, it looks like we're perpetually on tour, but we try to make it more like 2 or 3 weeks at a time, with at least 2 weeks in between each tour. So we actually do have time at home, which is wonderful to recharge. But yeah, I think we'll be out for almost 3 full weeks this time.
Okay. It looked like a lot of Texas on the schedule, right?
A lot of Texas. Well, Texas is a very big place.
That it is. Yep.
So we've never been Well, that's a lie. We have been to Kerrville, Texas to play the Kerrville Folk Fest, but that was many years ago. And we've never toured through Texas. So this is our first time. So we have a lot of stops that we want to make. But we're really excited to be out there for the first time and with the new records. So
Yeah.
all good things.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I don't know if I have any listeners in Texas. I know of a single listener in Texas for sure. But for any of the other,
well, then this episode is for them.
Yes, yeah, you hear that, Ethan? This is for you. So, Texas fans, you're in for a treat. Make sure you catch them if they're in your part of your very large state, because you cannot beat the Crane Wives. You had the album release show last month here in Michigan. I was real bummed to miss it, especially because, you had Patty with you as well. I was also in Ireland, so I wasn't like super bummed about it, but I was bummed because I haven't seen you guys play live in years, actually. So how did that go? How did that release show go?
It went really well. It sold out, which is insane to me. Like, that's such a big space. And, we performed in the Intersection before, and this is the first time we've ever sold it out. That's insane.
Yeah.
So the turnout was great. And then Patty, being able to perform with Patty was amazing. And we also invited Callan Red to perform with us. And they are two of the members of Callan Red also tour with us as our merch team.
Nice.
So it felt very exciting to share the night with them. And yeah. Oh, Sam and Jordan as well. We had two string players that sat in with us. They reprised the parts that they had laid down on the record. And so that was just an amazing experience. And then the whole show was interpreted by a deaf interpreter who is a friend of ours. It's a lot of moving parts, but it was really cool when it all came together.
I bet. Yeah, that is a fun venue. And I'm old enough to go back to the days of the original Intersection in Easttown. Did you guys ever have chance to visit the old location and that dank little bar that it used to be located in?
Isn't it? What is it now? Isn't it?
I have not been there since it was the Intersection, so I could not tell you. The only thing I remember about it is there was the Intersection and there was an amazing sandwich shop just down the street that I hope is still around. I would love to revisit because I remember the food being amazing. But that's a long time ago.
I don't think I ever saw the original one.
I was going to say, there's been quite a bit of turnover.
Yeah, I remember being in whatever it's called now. I remember being in there and being like, "Wow, this is very different."
Yeah, it was. I mean, the first time I had been there wasn't even really a stage. It was almost like someone just sort of laid a piece of plywood down on the ground and painted it black, so it looked, stage-ish. But it was like a quarter inch off the ground is what it was. So if you were in the front row, you were basically just hanging out with the band. And then eventually they added a stage, and I remember seeing many a Mustard Plug show up there, and the lead singer Mustard Plug just hanging off the rafters because they're also right there. I mean, it was quite an interesting building for sure.
Whoa.
Yeah.
It was crazy to go in there and have this feeling like when I got there, we were there all day, and when I got there, I had this feeling of wow, this is the Intersection. It feels wild that we're gonna sell out the Intersection and stuff. But then when we got on stage and started doing our classic setup with our sound guy Morgan and everything, it just felt like, oh wait, we do this all the time, to venues that are kind of this size. And so there was this really wild feeling of culmination of everything we've been doing on the road, and to suddenly be like, oh yeah, this space isn't so different than what we've been playing, but it feels so monumental. And just also as a part of that feeling of culmination, everything came together that day. And Emilee she does all of our merchandise, and she made this entirely new series of merch for the album release and beyond. And so all of that stuff showed up and was all of her new work was laid out on the merch stand, and we could just look at all of it. And it just felt the records the vinyl wasn't there, but the CDs were there. And it just felt like this huge culmination of everything we'd been working on for like a little over a year cycle that it took to like write and make the album. So it was a trip.
Yeah. And I was wondering if you were responsible for all that artwork, Emilee, because I was browsing the merch page today, which can always be dangerous because next thing I know, I've ordered 10 new things. But the merch game is solid right now. I love the stuff out there. Those designs are great.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been really exciting to take a little bit more initiative since we've had to tour and had to think about merch. So being back after the hiatus has kind of reinvigorated all of these like ideas that I've had. And it's just been really exciting to be given the freedom to kind of make the art I want and to share it with our fans, which has also been really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I bet it seems like it's bringing, a couple of your loves, your passions together into one place.
Yeah,
definitely.
Let's talk about the album. So it's Beyond, Beyond, Beyond. Tell me a little bit about the culmination of this album. Was it a thing of, it'd been a while for an album and you had enough songs just to make an album, or was there a specific concept that you'd set out? And it was, there was a why behind it. What created this album?
Well, I'll start, but definitely want to hear Emilee's take on this too. But it was crazy because from like 2000, like, when you last talked to us, 16, 17, all the way through 2020, we had enough music for an entire fifth record, and we put a lot of it out like as live singles. We'd like go to someone's house and record a new song in their house and film it and put it on YouTube. And we were just trying new experiments with how to release music. And then the pandemic happened and tons of different life changes happened for us all. And then we had all this music. And when it came time to think about a fifth album, once we kind of reunited, we were kind of toying with like, well, how much of this stuff that never made it to an album makes it to this album? And we weren't really sure, but then we went on a writing retreat. And my parents live in this, basically what's like a big cabin on the Muskegon River in Michigan. And they let us take it over, and we had a 4.5 day writing retreat. We keep using this classic line that it was a hot tub retreat with some songwriting. But we just really took it easy and let it be kind of nourishing for ourselves too. And it's like when we did get to the jam space and work, like we rocked out some songs, and we had like either Emilee or Kate would bring a previously started song with all the lyrics and chords and stuff. And then we worked on it on songs. And by the end of that 4-day trip, we had 7 songs that were like newer than that whole old batch. And so then we were kind of just feeling all of that and listening to those demos and really excited about that. We took one more writing retreat that was only 2 days in early December of last year, and that had 2 more songs come out. So by that time we had 9, and so we took 2 of these other ones that had been kicking around that like really felt like thematically they made sense with the whole thing. And then suddenly we had something like really exciting. And I think what was fun about it was like we knew that the listeners would hit play at the top and be in for an entirely new ride. And it's tough to let some of those old songs not get a studio version, but at the same time, it's like they already live on Spotify. So we wanted to give everybody a completely new adventure.
Yeah, I mean, it had been 8 years since we had released our last record. And so we have been performing even some of the music that we had written in preparation for a fifth album. By the time we actually got in the studio, we had been playing that music for years. And, like it had evolved a lot since we had, first started playing it. And at this point, I feel like we were exploring a lot of different sounds for our live show, trying to figure out how to fill in some of the gaps where like a color instrument could go or where a jam could go, kind of changing the live show a little bit to make it more of an experience for our fans. And I think a big part of that was like Kate and my comfort in playing lead guitar. And so a lot of this record, I think, explores like this common theme of space and just letting there be instrumentals without lyrics and letting the listener kind of just absorb the earlier message or, you know, what the guitar solo is trying to say. It's a different way to like to express a message. And it's been really exciting to experiment with that with this new batch of songs.
You know, I love that you used the word space there, because the moment you said it, it actually hit me in two ways, because there's space as in like the breathing room that you've created in that song, those songs. But also I feel like you guys have launched us a little bit as listeners into a new realm. And like some of the earlier albums, I mean, you know, Hand That Feeds and Sleeping Giants are still played like once a week in my house. But so I love that stuff. But like, there's something about this new album where I just feel like we've been like, you're launched in. Do you ever watch The Never Ending Story? And you know, he's flying on the dog. I feel like I'm just like floating along with you guys in the clouds on this album in the most wonderful way, just going on this journey. And yeah, there's something, I guess, I don't know, ethereal maybe that is a part of it. I mean, was that intentional too? You know, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, I feel like if you had a mood board of things that we wanted to be incorporated into this record, I feel like outer space was a really big part of it, the unknown. And I think because of that, maybe the instrumentation, maybe some of the noises make this kind of washy, kind of otherworldly sound. And it's like, that's like the world we were trying to play in, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know exactly about Falcor or like, you know, but that's definitely like, you know, I want to say two things real quick. One is that Emilee does all the artwork for posters and t-shirts and these super dope pins that we have and all this stuff. But for the actual album covers themselves have been our friend Rebecca Green, who's done all 5 album covers now. And I think she nailed it perfectly with this image that's kind of from the song Black Hole Fantasy, but also kind of reminiscent of the whole thing where someone's like literally entering a portal into a new realm. So you like nailed it there. And then, yeah, sonically, we like Emilee and Zito and Kate all got new pedals, like new guitar pedals. And so there was tons of play, just like experimental play with sounds. And like one of my favorite sounds on the record is a recurring sound of Zito's bass that's actually run through a pedal called the microcosm. And I've like pointed it out to people and be like, that's a bass right there. But it really sounds like a spaceship. It's like a multi-octave musical spaceship that comes in every once in a while. So yeah, we definitely were feeling the cosmos, and I think that a lot of that came from just like playing and experimenting.
Well, you know, and it's interesting because you mentioned there was so much, like there was the isolation during COVID, and I remember talking to Kate via email because they're wearing a different hat. I was actually trying to book you guys for a space down here at that time. Shortly after COVID, and you guys hadn't quite like come back together fully yet. But there's something about, you know, being so like, we were also like tight and enclosed, and it's nice to kind of like fly now. And a lot of the earlier stuff you guys have is a little more, I mean, I didn't mean to say this, but down to earth, I guess. And so I feel like when I'm listening to the songs, I'm not necessarily hearing a specific tale. You know, I'm hearing more of a theme And that theme that allows me as a listener then to apply that to whatever my current experience might be. Was that intentional in the lyricism, Emilee?
I definitely feel like when we were choosing what songs would go on this record, we tried to come up with maybe not like a narrative in the sense that there's like a one way to tell this story, but definitely like a vibe. It's hard to explain, but I do think that there was a lot of intention placed in trying to tell a different story than the story that we have told with the past 4 records. I think in our folk era, we had a lot of ideas about what our music should sound like as an acoustic band, as a folk band, as a band that was trying to occupy these spaces where the music sounded a certain way. But I also think that post hiatus, we were given a lot of freedom with the security that comes in people knowing your music. And I think that allowed us to take some risks with the sounds that we make and the themes that we have in this record. And it's been like really exciting to be able to share that.
Yeah, so you mentioned your folk era. How would you describe this current era that you're in?
I think we have
a rock and roll era.
Yeah. Somewhere in our bio it says this phrase like they are now comfortably nestled in their rock and roll era, but it's really fun because we do not talk about genre words when we make the music. I think it comes with the territory that it's 2 electric guitars, electric bass, and drums, that it's naturally going to feel like rock. And also we've kind of always been a rock band in the sense of our energy, like of how energetic we play and how we're kind of thrashing around and jumping up and down and falling on the floor and whatnot. But yeah, there's also all sorts of influences in there that are kind of like pushed through the 4-piece rock, what is like traditionally the 4-piece rock setup. And for me, like, it's so exciting with this album to have it be such an electric guitar album. And I think that Emilee and Kate's electric guitar stuff is just like, it's one of my favorite guitar albums just because the parts are like kind of, sometimes they're like interlocking to be one really complex guitar part, but they never talked about it and it just happened. And other times like someone's playing a sick lead and then they, trade that with the next song, the other person's playing lead. And it's just kind of outrageous with the guitar playing on this record.
Yeah, I mean, you get those moments naturally because, you guys have been playing together for so long, especially, Emilee, you and Kate. I mean, so you probably know each other even in ways you don't realize you know each other. So that's why you can do those things and make that magic happen. But I will say, like, the whole genre thing, especially, and I am a guilty party in this as a music journalist, always trying to force labels on things, but I'm also personally have the philosophy that genre is kind of bullshit. I remember reading, have you guys read the book Major Labels? It came out, I think late last year, and I'm drawing a blank on the author's name, but he's a lifelong music journalist. And he basically goes through the history of what he refers to as, I think it's the 9 major genres of American music, but it's through his personal experience. So discovering that first, funk record as a kid or whatever, and just kind of going through the history of those things. And I don't know if it was his express thesis, but in the end, by the time you get to the end of it, you're just like, it's the same story, whether it's punk rock, whether it's folk or whatever. I mean, the journey is so similar. It's just different ways of doing it. And so there's something about what you guys do as the Crane Wise, like the transition from the previous album, even if it was 8 years ago, to this one, it's seamless. This is definitely a Crane Wives album. I mean, from the get-go, when I put it on, I'm like, yes, this is the Crane Wives. This is what I've been waiting for, so.
That's awesome to hear. We were hoping,
Absolutely.
without trying to force it, we were hoping that it would be like an evolution, not like out of nowhere. So that's really good to hear that it feels like it like belongs, but it pushes it to a new place. That's great.
Yeah. Have you gotten feedback from your, you said one of the things that gave you freedom was sort of your core fan base. Have you gotten a lot of feedback from your fans?
Yeah. I mean, reviews have been very positive. It's been really nice to see the kids connect, particularly to some of the songs that we have on this record that are more about hope and the possibility of a different future than the one we pictured ourselves in. And I think that that is a message, particularly in this day and age, that young people probably don't hear as much. And so it's been very exciting to see them kind of latch onto that and hopefully internalize it a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, again, going to that sort of the vast themes of the whole thing. I mean, it's just like this warm thing that just kind of picks you up and carries you away. I mean, even not being one of the kids anymore myself, finding a lot of hope in it. We get to a certain point of our lives where things get a little bit harder. And I think you kind of mentioned maybe we end up places where we didn't expect we were going to end up. And, yeah, it's always great to have some great tunes from one of my favorites along the ride, no matter where we are.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's like my favorite thing is when the music means so much to people and becomes part of their story. And I think one of my favorite things is that we go through this journey on the album of like conflict and inner conflict that ends up like resulting in like a desire for some kind of big action outside of yourself that can change, yourself and your circumstances and actually like take that leap for what you want in life and like what will be, maybe it's painful, but it'll be healing for you on the other side. And I think the thing that excites me is that like we leave the listener at the end. We don't give them a happy ending. It's not like a Disney movie. We end on this note that's like, here we go, we're going to give it a shot. And then the whole album just kind of starts over again. So yeah. I like that feeling of like, just build yourself up and give it a shot. But like, that's kind of what the whole theme of the unknown is about. Like, we don't know what's out there, but we're willing to take this leap and find out,
Yeah. I love it. I love that, because that is life. There is no, knowing for sure it's all going to work out or get wrapped up as a happy ending. And sometimes you just got to take that leap. I love it. I mean, I know you're still riding kind of the wave of this album, but do you have any ideas of where this continued evolution might take you in the future? Or are there things you, as musicians, each of you, or as a lyricist, would like to explore?
Things I would like to explore. I don't know. I think that right now, like I have some songs cooking, but nothing I think that is the big, like the next big hit by any means. I think that we have like a break coming up and I'm hoping to do more writing then. But lyrically, I would love to write a concept album. I think we could crush a concept album.
Oh, yeah. I feel like we've been flirting with concept album for a long time, so maybe we should just go for it and come up with some characters and write a story.
I'm 100% in support of this. Yeah. I just came off another interview of a hip hop artist who's he wants to do a concept album about food. So I mean, you can do whatever you want.
That's very true. It's like a very daunting task. It's like saying you're going to write a book, like there's a lot of other steps that happen before book is done. So it is, but that is definitely on the list. And then also just like, I am excited to explore more electric sounds. particularly in writing, and trying to improve my skills and trying to improve my knowledge of how electric sound is made, the chain and whatnot.
So, switching gears a little bit, what, like, you guys have lived through as a band through, a number of evolutions in the music industry. I mean, just in the way that we consume, music, streaming was just sort of becoming kind of what it is today. And, there was the pandemic, which had a huge impact on the landscape of live music and performance. So, how is music as a career treating you guys? I mean, for you guys, it's not just art; it's a job, it's a way of life. So, what's it like out there?
It's pretty crazy. I think it's wild because the thing that happened to us is incredibly rare. Where, like, during the pandemic, after being a band for a little more than a decade, during the pandemic when we weren't playing is when everybody, like, our numbers just started going up. And there's multiple stories like that around, like Chapel Roan, for instance, like worked really hard, and there's videos of her playing, at like Navy Pier by herself with a keyboard or whatever. And for us, like we played for so long and it was so different. And I think what's happening to us right now is really rare. And it's like the algorithm works for nobody until randomly it works for somebody. And so we really are trying not to take it for granted and just trying to, like, harness it. But it's really wild. Like, it just feels like right now there's transformation is just kind of in the air, and the way that things are is in question in pretty much like every industry, it feels like. And for the music industry, it's just really hard to see, like, local festivals can't keep making it happen, and certain venues are closing down, but then, like, it feels really bizarre. But for us personally, we're just trying to, like, use our best business sense to make this, like, sustainable for us, and to really try to go find the fans that have given us this gigantic lift that happened, and really just play for them, and play ticketed shows for them where we can give them a full experience after everything they've kind of given us. So it feels a little mysterious, and sometimes it feels a little scary just because things seem to be changing. But yeah, I'm curious what you think, Em. It's wild out there.
It is. And we know it's like, this is a difficult time to be a musician. As Dan was saying, like, the bubbles are popping and we're seeing a lot of venues disappear, and we're seeing a lot of festivals be unable to sustain. And that's just kind of, unfortunately, the way that it goes when things become more expensive, and expenses rise. It's like, and we feel very grateful that we are able to do this job, this non-essential to life job that we also happen to enjoy quite a bit. And so we try to use our resources to help other artists that, like, we really love and respect. And, like, we've built this amazing team where we are bringing people that we love with us on the road, who are incredibly skilled at their jobs. And it just feels really nice to be able to kind of share in that success with a bunch of people that, also work really hard and are very talented.
So so even beyond the four of you, there's, like, the internal Crane Wives team? Is that what you're talking about there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
we have team jerseys. We have baseball jerseys.
We've never quite had that before. Like, for a decade, it was just the four of us on the road, and everybody trying to do their share of the work. And that's been one of the most satisfying parts of having this big rise, or whatever you want to call it, is that we're able to hire our friends who are already so good at what they do, and we feel like we can give them a pretty good job that they feel secure in. So we travel with a sound guy, a tour manager, and those two merch guys now. So we're like a little 8-person team. But then we also have like our friend who owns a print shop that's always mailing out merch for us, and a friend who helps out a little bit with social media. And, we're starting to, every once in a while, someone will make a joke about the Crane Wives economy. Like there's a whole little industry that happens now, and we feel really lucky for that. And it's really satisfying, especially when some of our friends are like so good at what they do and they've been working so hard, and the music industry hasn't necessarily been working incredibly well for them. And so it's nice to be like, hey, this is happening to us. You can use your skills and help us make this happen. And, good things all around there.
I think that's one thing that I have noticed about music in our lifetimes. While the kind of the national, international behemoth industry is doing its thing, and there's all that stuff going on, I encounter more and more in the scene down here by where I am. I'm at the bottom of the state across from South Bend, so there's the Michiana scene and other places I visited. There's a very communal kind of thing going in each of these pockets. Like there's just these little spots that you stumble into here or there across the country or even across the world. And what you seem to find, what I seem to find, are artists helping other artists. And so, yes, like you guys have the ability to elevate some people around you and help them out, and in turn they're helping you. And there's a beautiful synergy to that. And I think part of that must come from the fact that we've, lived through some, very unstable times in our adult lives. I think, I think unlike generations before us, I mean, we've lived through multiple economic crisis. That I think like a once in a generation things. Now we've gone through it, I don't know, 3 or 4 times now in our lifetimes as adults.
It's ongoing. It's just continuous now. Yeah. We're just in it. Mm-hmm. But I also I do think that we are relearning how to have a community. And I think that unfortunately, a lot of the things that we're growing have to start small and, start from a different place with different kinds of support. I don't know. It's nice to see that these small music communities are surviving and that they are leaning on each other to rebuild, for sure.
Yeah. I think that's a great thing that you're pointing out there, like learning how, constantly relearning what community is. And I think that's a great thing, because I think sometimes it can just be community in the sense of help and volunteerism and mutual aid, which is so important in a lot of areas of life. And also just this sense of community where it's I do believe that we're in some way we're helping the folks that we bring on, but they're helping us. And that mutual sense of help is just I'm trying to get at something. It's not necessarily even help. It's just you're skilled at this, and you can help, you can do this job for us. And recognizing value, because everybody's doing something that has so much value. And so it's the dream society would have a place for everybody who's got all this value to use it. And I feel so many people are left behind. Hey, I've got all these skills and nothing to do with them because society's not working for me. So I don't know. I could muse about it for a while and never get anywhere because there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting that we're in this moment in life where, we live in a world that is more technologically connected than any other time in history. And yet I think a lot of us, especially in our generation, are turning kind of to smaller ways of communicating and connecting. And I mean, look at you guys as a band. I mean, you have survived a lot of that we just were discussing together. The world has been shifting around you, and the four of you have been consistently like the family, the Crane wives, making it work in whatever the world is thrown at you. It's a beautiful thing. So you've got the rest of the tour, or the tour down south coming up, and then you said you're going to give yourself a little break afterwards. So are you guys coming back to Michigan? Going to hang out, do some potentially wintry things if we get some snow? What's the plan?
Well, our bass player Zito is expecting his first child in January.
All right.
Yeah. So we are going to be supportive aunties and uncles. And during that time, we're probably going to do a lot of writing. We might do a writing retreat, do some practicing. But also we do have tours planned for this spring. So at this point, we're just trying to nail down what that schedule is going to look like the spring and the summer beyond that, actually. So we're trying to get to the UK next year. So that's in the works. There's a lot of logistics that have to be figured out for that. So we're going to be pretty busy. But it's all working on things that help Team Crane Wives thrive and survive. So
what about you, Dan? Any specific things you're gonna do during the break? Anything you're looking forward to?
Well, I used to snowboard, and every year my dad is like, we got to get on the snowboard again. And maybe that was half my life ago, but maybe I'll give it a shot. But I'm probably going to,
Don't break anything.
Yeah. The one thing at this point of our lives, we don't get up from those falls as easily as we used to. So
yeah, that's true. That's a good point, because the first time I tried snowboarding, I was on my ass all day. So maybe... but
you need that ass for work.
I do.
Yeah, that's right.
Especially me. I really need that part.
When I was in Ireland, I had a random adventure that occurred. It started with me being unable to tip a busker because I didn't have cash and I couldn't get the local Venmo type of thing to work. And so I bought him a beer, and he basically introduced me to his friends, and they took me on this whirlwind adventure that lasted till 4 a.m. And
yeah,
it was amazing. It was the best part of my entire trip over there. Also, I cannot recover from that kind of an excursion the way I used to. So.
Yeah, a couple of us were just at this festival that we love that happens every year, and it was like maybe the last one. And so that was happening to a lot of our musician friends, where suddenly we're all awake until 5, and then
time marches on.
Yeah.
Then we're getting like 4 hours of sleep, and then we're like, did you guys stay up till 5 last night? What did we do? And then you're just wrecked. You're wrecked for a week, because we're in our mid-30s now. So
Yep.
Our shows start very early now.
That's good. That's good. I appreciate a band that's aging with me, because it seems like the shows go to match that, so no more of this show doesn't start till 11:30 at night or something like that,
You're going to be home by midnight. It'll be fine.
Love it. All right. Well, cool. Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time to chat with me. Was there anything else that we missed that you wanted to make sure all the folks down here know about, what's going on with the band lately, or the album, or anything like that, and what's in the works?
I think we covered it. Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, for sure. It was good to connect with you guys again, and I look forward to catching you live when you're back up this way and playing some shows up this way. So.
Sounds
Absolutely.
great.
Just shoot us an email. We'll get you on the list.
I appreciate it. Appreciate it always. Yeah. But thank you again for taking the time to come on. I really appreciate it. You guys get some rest. Enjoy your downtime in between gigs, and then have a good time in Texas.
Will do. Thank you so much, Justin. It was good to see you.
Yeah. Thanks, Justin. Thanks for making it work.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye, Dan.
Bye.
You have been listening to Anywhere the Needle Drops, a product of Red Chuck Productions. Be sure to keep tabs on everything going on with this show and everything else Red Chuck over at redchuckproductions.com or by following us at Red Chuck Productions on social media. Special thanks to Hero Jr. for our theme music. You can check them out, listen to their songs, and see where they're going to be over at herojrmusic.com. That's HEROJRMUSIC.com. Also, special thanks to Paul Clemson, our sound engineer and producer. And while you're at it, make sure you visit the websites and band camps and shows of all of our guests. If you want local music, if you want independent music, or any kind of art, you've got to support them. So give musicians and artists your money. We will see you at the next episode. Until then, here's to life.